And tomorrow's here. Worth your salt, chapter 13. Let's see if he can do it. When I got up the next morning, I began having second thoughts about setting my plan in motion. I thought about how it could backfire on me and cause more problems than we already had. Besides, I was the youngest out of everybody who worked at the restaurant. There was no reason for Furman to believe in me. He should be relying on the owner or even Miss Fine. But Furman believes in me. I remember my dad telling me if a man had no guts, he would also never have any glory. Well, I suspect that was probably correct, but I also knew why so many people never have any glory. It is difficult talking oneself into doing something they could just as easily crash and burn at. But Furman believes in me. I also remember my uncle telling me nothing ventured, nothing gained. I suspect that was correct too. But I also thought if you didn't venture into catastrophe, you would be saved that loss as well. But Furman believes in me. You're killing me, Furman. I blasted out to the voice I kept hearing in my head. Then I remembered reading something like, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. But Furman believes in me. Okay, enough. I went into my bathroom and took a shower, and then I shaved my face, making certain not to cut myself in the process. Then I went and put on that only suit I had. It took me a while to remember how to tie the tie, but I finally got it done. Next, I opened my secret drawer in my desk and got all the money I had in it, including all the money I had replaced of the $500 I had taken out for myself. I went and got the only legal document I possessed. My stomach was turning over on itself, and I realized I had not eaten, so I fixed myself a couple pieces of toast and drank a glass of orange juice. After checking myself out in the mirror one more time, I finally left the house, got in my car, drove it to the gas station, and filled the tank full. Not something I normally felt I could afford to do, but today was important. I arrived at the bank at 2 minutes past 9 o'clock. I went inside, walked up to the teller, who was smiling at me before I even got up to her. "Good morning," I said to her. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" she inquired. "I need to speak with the banker, specifically the banker who holds the note on our restaurant." "The one out by the freeway?" "Yes, ma'am, that's the one." "Just a minute," she said, and she walked away, and I saw her knock on the door and go inside. My stomach was full of butterflies, but I told it to settle down, that everything was going to be all right. Did my stomach believe me? Apparently so. It stopped. Suddenly, the teller returned and motioned me to follow her. I did, and she walked me into the bank vice president's office. "Mr. Peterson, this is," she said, and remembered she had not gotten my name. "John," I said. "Mr. John," she said, embarrassed. "Have a seat," the vice president said. I took the seat offered, and he said, "What can I do for you today, son?" Son? He could have at least called me young man, something other than son. It made me feel as if he was looking down on me already. "Yes, sir," I rallied. "I need to speak with you about our restaurant. I understand we're behind on our payments." "We? I don't recall the name John on the loan agreement with us. In fact, there's only one name on it. Are you sure you're talking about the same restaurant?" "Yes, sir. I know my name is not on the loan agreement. In fact, I am an employee in the restaurant. But I am here to see if we can work something out so we can keep the restaurant in business." "And what do you do at the restaurant?" I'm the dishwasher." "The dishwasher," he said with raised eyebrows. "Yes, sir." "A little out of your league, don't you think?" he asked with a smirk on his face. "Not at all," I replied, trying not to take offense and remember what I wanted to say to this man. All the employees of the absolute bestest restaurant in the world are more than simple employees. We each do the best we can to make our restaurant the best it can be. We do not just do what is required of us. We do much more than that. To be the absolute bestest restaurant in the world, you cannot expect employees to be ordinary employees. We must be extraordinary. And we are. "Really?" he said, not believing a word of what I was saying. "How so?" "For one, each waitress is required to learn every customer's name, even if we will never see them again." "Why?" "Because the most important thing you can do for a customer is to remember his or her name. Remembering a person's name means you remembered them. And they know we see dozens, maybe hundreds of customers every day, but we remembered their name. That makes them feel special. And they are. I said, rising from my seat. They chose to come to our restaurant instead of eating somewhere else. They chose us. That means something to each of us. That means we are important to them. Don't we have just as much of a responsibility for them to be important to us? Of course it does. They put us first, so we must also do the same for them. He held up a hand to stop me. You keep calling your restaurant the best restaurant in the world. Has the name changed and I'm not aware of it? No, our name has not changed, but we have. We actually are the absolute bestest restaurant in the world. Yes, you keep saying that. He's saying that because it's true, a familiar voice said from behind me. I turned and saw Miss Fine, but I had never seen her dressed the way she was now. She had on a dress that was formal and yet businesslike. Her makeup was flawless, and her hair had been styled in a way that had made her look wealthy and respected. And who are you? The vice president asked her. I am Miss Fine. I am ambassador to the absolute bestest restaurant in the world. You do both realize that bestest is not a real word, correct? Of course it isn't, Miss Fine said, but it is endearing. We're not concerned with syntax, Mr. Peterson. We are concerned with being the best restaurant in the world. A restaurant where you are known by your first name, where we look at you as a member of our own personal family. And when you walk in our door, we smile at you because we know you and like you. And if you want an extra pickle with your sandwich, we're not going to charge you extra for it. How many restaurants have you been in like that? None, he admitted. Exactly. And who are you? The vice president asked, looking towards the door to his office. I am a waitress at the absolute bestest restaurant in the world, she said. So am I, said one of the breakfast waitresses. Suddenly, all our waitresses were filing through the door of the vice president's office. Now, wait a minute, he said, standing up from his chair. This is a closed meeting. I don't want the entire roster of truck stop employees in here. What about customers? Asked Charlie, who appeared inside the office alongside Buddy. Don't we have anything to say about this? Then customer after customer came walking in, truck drivers, homemakers, mechanics, doctors, lawyers, jewelers, grocers, and a host of others. Most said nothing, just standing there, a force to be reckoned with. I turned my head and I saw outside the door peering in was Furman. A small smile sat mischievously on his face. He knew this would happen. He knew we would all come together to save our restaurant. He had taught us to do that. He had taught us to care. But he had also taught something I would never forget. He taught me to be worth my salt. And the smile on his face was proof to me I had done that today. And then I saw him turn around and walk away. He had seen all he needed to see. I said to the vice president, don't you see? We're not the same restaurant we once were. We used to be employees, but now we know our roles. We know how important each of us is in making our restaurant successful. This is not just a business. It is our dream. It is our opportunity to take something insignificant and make it significant. We have come together and made our restaurant extraordinary. Every day, people come from hundreds of miles away to eat with us. They never did that before, and they tell their friends about us in our restaurant. They never did that before. And when they walk in our front door, they have smiles on their faces. They never did that before either. But now they do. And when we do too, we each understand our importance to each other. And because we do, it all works out right. Don't you see? If you shut us down now, this whole wonderful thing will abruptly cease. People will have to look for another restaurant to eat at. And will they find what they found with us? The vice president shook his head no. You're correct. They won't. Restaurants like us are few and far between. And because this is so, we have an obligation to continue serving our customers in the way they want. Further, money cannot be the sole factor for why a business exists. People, the customer, must always be at the forefront. For without the people, there will be no money. Then I reached in my jacket pocket and pulled out the title to my car and set it on the vice president's desk along with the keys to it. Here's the title to my car. If we do not come up with the money you want within 30 days, you can keep my car. By the way, the tank is full of gas. I stopped speaking. I had said enough. No one else said a word either. Dozens of us stood facing the vice president, who we know was totally surprised by shoehorning ourselves into his office. After better than a minute, he finally sat back in his chair. We heard him sigh one time and run his hand over his forehead. All right, I will not close down your truck stop. The roar was incredible. The waitresses ran around his desk and lifted him from his chair so they could each hug him. The men were stepping up and extending their hands so the banker could shake them. Miss Fine walked up to me and hugged me to herself. You did it, she told me. No, I said, knowing better. We all did it together.